Okay, so I ordered.
¿Qué pasó, YouTube? How we doing? Alright, so I'm sorry I didn't get a time lapse for the decorative rock part, but I'll try and do my best to explain to you on what I did. But first, I'll start with the yoga mats. So these pictures that I'm showing you here is where the yoga mats, where I put them, or the horse mats, I'm sorry. So I believe these are priced out around like $25, $40, somewhere in that area. But I bartered for these, so in my opinion, I got them for free. So I win. But measure the area. Think about, like, if you have a basement, you obviously want the water to flow away from your basement, not into your basement. So on this area, there was a slight slope, and instead of working against it, I was working with it. In other words, I didn't want the water to flow into the garden beds. I didn't want any standing still water. So I wanted it to flow into the grass area down at the bottom. So take that into consideration when planning your project. So I'll play a little clip that I did on how to cut yoga mats or horse mats. Okay, so in this short, all I talk about is that I used some old loppers that I had laying around. They do a pretty good job of just cutting through the mats. First, I started using the utility knives, but I mean that takes forever. They make good clean cuts, but it takes forever. And I'm also wondering if you can use a like a angle grinder or a concrete saw, something like that. I'm not sure, but that's something you might want to try out. But I just used the loppers. I didn't really care too much about how good they cut since I was planning on covering it up. But if you're patient with it, it actually works pretty good. And if you have a helper, then you'll do a much better job of just doing it on your own. In a little bit, I'll show you on what I did to kind of help me, because these mats are awkwardly heavy and annoying. So, but going back to the pictures, think about the dirt. If you take dirt out, it expands, and the dirt that you just saw isn't what I got from here, but it's what I've had working on this project. So think about that, because one little project can really turn into a big mound of dirt. So think about that. In my case, I just put it where by the shed, and it worked pretty good. Okay, so if you saw the pictures, I had some old tarps laying around because it just gets so muddy. And also to kind of, after I was done, like where I wanted the grade to be on the slope, uh, that was helping just by trampling on the dirt while I worked there. And so, like I said, these mats are awkwardly heavy. So I loaded them onto the truck by myself. Um, this is a work truck. My wife calls it a catfish because she says it looks okay in pictures, but in real life, it's a work truck. So, but you don't want to scratch up your car or truck, so get a helper. But if you do it by yourself, one thing I did for like the longer mats is I stood them up against the tailgate, and then I just slid them into the bed of the truck. And it sounds a lot easier than what it actually is. They're kind of annoying to work with, especially the longer ones, but you can do it. It's no big deal. And so like I said, think about the dirt. The dirt expands, and it makes a mess. And the some of the mats like this one had a hole in it. In a little bit, I'll show you what I did with the hole. Instead of working against it, I worked with it. So you might have seen that at the beginning of the video, but that's what I did. And one thing I did to cut them up, well, first off, have a helper. It just makes it so much easier to cut them. But one thing I did was place them inside a wheelbarrow, kind of fold them like a taco, and then cut them with the loppers, like you see right here. That helped out a lot, but they are awkwardly annoying, so keep that in mind. But lucky for me, for the most part, this project was just placing them side by side, putting the tarps in between the mats, And then here is where I washed them down. I didn't power wash them. I just got the dirt off of it. They looked really nice when they were wet, but and honestly, if you want to leave them like that and just place furniture on top of it, like you will see here in a little bit, it looks good. But I just wanted to use the rock, so that's what I ended up doing. So the mats that I'm showing you here, or the pictures that I'm showing you here, are just pictures of what I ended up covering with the mats. The spots where I didn't have any mats for, I either ended up using some fabric that I had laying around, or I didn't put anything on there. But for the most part, I had enough to use where for the parts that we'll be walking on. So for the important parts, I guess. But other than that, it was good. It was enough. These pictures were the best pictures that I got for the well, not the best pictures that I could have taken, but these are. I just wanted to show you how much I covered on this area, on this side. And then these pictures here are just showing you what I did with the mat that had the hole in the middle, the one that I showed you earlier. And so we'll see how this turns out, just I guess so the roots can sink her into the ground. Okay, so now for the rock part. Again, I'm sorry I didn't get a time lapse or something, but I'll do my best to explain to you. So I got 5 yards of rock, and at first I'm like, whoa, that's a lot, like if you saw at the beginning, but I'm like, that's a lot. So I ordered 5 yards, 3 yards of this 3/4 gravel or rock, of the larger stuff, and then 2 yards of the smaller stuff. So before ordering it, I took some pictures of the backyard. I went to the local mulch supplier. I'm like, how much is 1 yard? How much does 1 yard of this cover? He said 1 yard of that covers 10 by 10 at around 2 inches thick. And you can Google this stuff, but honestly, I suck at math. I'm more of a visual learner, so if you're in the same boat, I hope this helps you out. So that's what I did. I'm like, I came back home and I walked around a couple of times. I'm like, okay, I think I need 1 yard here, 1 yard over here, one over here, and one over here. So I'm like, I think I need 4, maybe 4.5 yards of rock. And I ended up ordering 5. I'm like, well, if I have extra, I'll place it somewhere else on the property. This property is not mine, but I got permission to do this. So I'll place it somewhere else, or I'll gift it to my neighbors. And then a little bit, I'll show you what I had left and what I gave to my neighbor. So, but that's what I did. I'm like, I'm gonna get 5 yards because some spots here on the landscape are deeper than others, and I also want it to help keep the weeds down. So in a little bit, you'll see me walking around. Like right here, I want you to notice there's 3 rows of pavers. So you'll see in a little bit that it covers the bottom row of the pavers. So those pavers are around 2 inches thick. And then other spots are around like 3 inches thick, maybe 3.5. So I'll be showing you that here. But so my plan at first when I ordered it, I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. I think I ordered way too much. But now it turns out I ordered just the right amount, and had I not given what I did to my neighbor, I would have still been fine. So use your judgment, and it turns out mine was pretty good. So my plan for here was, okay, I'll use this larger stone, like right here in this area. I'll use it here. I'll put it around the garden beds like a border, because I didn't use any edging. The plants eventually will be like a border, so that's why I did that. But I'm like, I'll use the larger stone for the sides of the landscape and around the garden beds, like right here. And then I'll put the smaller stuff in between, because while I was doing this, I'm like, you know what? I like the smaller stuff. And so while I was shoveling the rock into the wheelbarrow, if you look back at the beginning, they split it in half. But what I told them at the mulch supplier, I'm like, you could just mix it. But they ended up, I don't know why they didn't mix it. They ended up splitting it in half. So if you go back to the beginning, you notice they first they dropped down the larger stone and then the smaller stuff. I wish they had mixed it, but I ended up first I was shoveling the smaller stuff because that's what I wanted, and now I wish I hadn't done that because I like the bigger stuff now. So I gave my neighbor most of the, well, not most, but what I gave him was the larger stuff. Now I wish I had given him the smaller stuff because the smaller stuff in the snow or in the rain, it gets stuck between your shoes or your boots. And then the larger stuff is just more, it's more perfect because it doesn't get stuck in your shoes. So this little area that I showed you right there, I got 12 bags of it's called egg rock from Lowe's. So there was 12 bags right there in that little area. So that's why I was showing it to you. So that is called egg rock from Lowe's. And then this stuff right here is called salmon sandstone, I think. And then I ended up putting some of the smaller, like a couple of shovelfuls into the area where I put the egg rock. So at first the rocks look like yellow because they're wet. They look tan, but once it dries out, it's white, so it looks really nice. So I just wanted to mention that. But right here, I'm just showing you while I was spreading it. I wasn't done yet. I was showing you that I was spreading the larger stuff around the borders and everything, and then I still had the smaller stuff, and that's what I'm just talking about in this video. Alright, so here's how it looks, and I left some area open in case I want to thin it out. And then I put these here just to keep it from washing away. So it's pretty thick. Here you can see the mat right there, and then it's maybe 2 inches thick, and then the other areas maybe 3 inches, like right here where the concrete was. Now it's up level with the concrete, so that's about 3 inches, maybe 3.5. Same thing right there. And then the pavers, those are 2 inches, about 2 inches. So that is level with the pavers. Then I put a couple shovelfuls over there. And then I threw a couple of shovel loads over there. Okay, so first I put down the 3/4 down as the base and around the borders, like around the garden beds and along the edges and by the concrete. And then the plan was to put the smaller stuff on top. But then I decided to put some of the bigger stuff on top of the smaller stuff. So it's 3/4, 3/8, and then 3/4, kind of a mixture. So that's how it kind of came out. And the reason for that is because the smaller stuff, even though I kind of like it better, it's a little more slippery. So the 3/4 is a lot better. It's not as slippery. So, and I do have quite a bit, but I can always just gift some to the neighbors or put it in other areas, like for example over here. But I don't think I want any over here, so. But that's how it looks. Or that's how it turned out. And that is how much I used. And I could always just put some more over here. Like right there. Okay, YouTube, so these pictures are a week or two after. It just looks so much nicer now. Now it's a lot more level. Now that it's dry, it looks really nice. So I wanted to show you that. And I hope this video helped you out or give you an idea on how much you might need. Ordering rock can be hard, in my opinion. I looked up some YouTube videos here on YouTube before ordering rock, but honestly, nothing that I found that helped out. But if you saw a video that helped you out, maybe you might want to comment down below and help everyone else out. But that's really it. Good luck on your project, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, YouTube.